Mallory, what's going on this week?
Well, I worked a lot. I finished JoJo, the season or part 2 of season 2 of the Star Crusader.
There you go. I thought for some reason you were going to say the Steven Universe. I was like, I don't think that's JoJo.
I just finished that. I started watching Umbrella Academy. By the way, I have probably never cried as hard as I did while watching JoJo.
Mm-hmm.
That whole show is just like an emotional roller coaster for me.
Mm-hmm.
There's only like a few times that I've cried that hard watching something like that I'm just like, no. But it's when a certain character died. And then and then I finished Let's Go Pokemon, or Let's Go Pikachu this week, finally. Okay. I had time to actually sit down and play it.
It's just the original game, right? It's just the original game?
Yeah.
So it ends really
but I finally finished that, and then just getting ready for this business trip that I have to take on Tuesday, so it's been kind of filling my week.
It's so weird hearing the dogs on the other side of the microphone. It's bizarre, but it's fine. Okay, Mr. John?
A lot of work and a lot of gaming. I got Game Pass again.
Nice.
Started playing Carry On. Carry On's pretty dope.
Hell yeah.
Dishonored 2. That's it.
All right, Josh?
Let's see. Gaming-wise, did do Mega Man X4 as X now.
There.
So that's done.
Yep.
So that's fun. So beat it as both characters. Exciting for me. Played some Deadly Premonition. That's pretty much how I spent most of my day today.
Mm-hmm.
Also played some Mega Man 2. Actually got up to Wily's Castle.
Oh, that's cool.
Stage 4, but that one's a pain in the ass. But yeah, I think that's the majority of it, because I really didn't get to do too much due to work.
I hear you.
But yeah.
Alright, so me, almost done with Deadly Premonition 2. Still can't really talk about it without spoiling stuff, so I also may have just deleted part of the itinerary right now. And other than that, also... speaking of which, now that Mallory and John heard it also, I also did a Deadly Prem edit on the last podcast, primarily because when I was listening to that conversation, it just reminded me of a conversation from Deadly Premonition. This character, right? Yeah, I don't know what the character's name... This character... Yep, don't know. I was just like, yeah, that's a Deadly Premonition conversation in the nutshell, so I had to put that over it. There's also something else I was going to bring up, but I forgot. It's not that I deleted it, I actually just don't remember what it was. And, yeah. Other than that, yeah, pretty much just Deadly Premonition 2, and then, of course, yeah, just the 9 to 5 taking up the rest of, literally, the life, basically, which sucks. And that's pretty much it, then. Lots of Deadly Prem 2. I mean, like, I'm talking about 8 hours a day on my days off, at least. So, I mean... Lots of Deadly Premonition, too, when I say playing that. It's a lot of that, so, yeah. I'm thinking about, like, the 60-hour mark, and I still have, like, an episode or two to go, so I'll probably cap out at about 80-plus hours, so we'll see. But definitely give my thoughts on how it ends, without spoiling it, obviously. But so far, I really like it. I don't know. I think everyone else is just tripping. My main problem is everyone who's written a review is basically just like, yeah, so it's Deadly Premonition 2, it's, like, fucking broken and weird, and it's just like... Yeah, so with Deadly Premonition 1, if you played it, a lot of the reviewers just clearly, even if they tried to feign that they played Deadly Prem 1, I just feel like they didn't, and they just jumped into 2 and was just like, what's this all about? This is weird.
Yeah.
You can't jump into, I don't know, that's weird.
I've been enjoying those Deadly Premonition 1 frame drops.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly, and that's in fucking Deadly Prem 1 also. It's
just picking up an item, even.
Yeah, it will just, like, kill the frame rate, and that's the thing I don't get about the complaints on the new one. If anything, it runs better somehow. But that's not saying much, obviously. I don't know, it's just weird. Like, you know, again, like I said, I did tell Josh earlier this week, I did play it on docked for about an hour, and I did notice some worse performance due to it being upscaled to 1080 and trying to render more, you know, field of view and stuff like that. But I still don't see this like argument of unplayable or anything like that. Does it run better in handheld? Sure, but I don't know. Also, I think that should have been something that more people should have tested and maybe gave a fair shake at. It'd be like, oh yeah, it does run better in handheld though, because the thing is they do that for a lot more games. I don't know. I also think that it landed on the biggest issue of expecting too much from a sequel. You know, it was something you never even thought would become a series.
Right.
And then on top of that, 10 years later, I just feel like the expectations were too high. For the fans that are complaining, I feel like it was just expectations were too high. And I think it was an impossible bar to jump. I just wish that more people would kind of like... I did like the one article that did mention that the story itself is good. They called it a great mystery trapped in an ugly game. Mm-hmm. I feel like the latter was an unnecessary comment only because the first game was ugly also, so I don't know. But I'm just getting redundant at that point. My whole point being is like, I thought it was pretty good. I would like to hear some more reviews that aren't just day one performance was. And I know, some of you people out there, if you were with the channel ages ago and it used to be a Let's Play channel, you would have your comeuppance, especially the guy who got really mad at my review on Unity. Or not review, or LP on Unity, excuse me. Yes, it does suck to be judged on day one performance. It does. However, one thing I will give as a fair shake, though, is they do get... The Deadly Premonition 2 also gets its fair licks because of the day one performance.
Could you argue that Deadly Premonition 2 is more playable than Unity was?
I was going to say, on docked versus handheld, and let's admit it, Unity didn't have that, like, there is no version of handheld Unity. However, still, yes, I agree, still more of a game and more playable.
I mean, did it have any Mars Attacks character models?
Right. John, we were the ones who did the Unity LP, I believe. I think Vincent was already not in the channel anymore.
Yeah, that was just us.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
I think that was in the before times.
Yes, that was in the before times. Yeah, but yeah, good stuff though. And if you want to check out any of those videos that I obviously haven't been posting, I will get out of this rut. Here's the disappointing part. Deadly Premonition 2 was supposed to be my big relaunch of making videos again, but because I can't talk about why I like it, I could probably still do a video and just put big-ass hella spoiler warning because the beginning of the game spoils the first game kind of thing.
The whole video is just going to be pixelated.
Basically. But then I also feel like it's not going to get any views because the 5 people who have played Deadly Premonition all the way are either not going to watch it or they are going to watch it, and that's the only 5 views I'm going to get.
All right.
I do have to start thinking about viability. I hate to think about the podcast and the YouTube channel as businesses all the time, but at the same time it kind of is, especially if I do want it to go somewhere. I do have to think about audience. I do have to think about direction and everything. You know, it can only be so much of me diddling myself in pleasure, and partially has to be, why do people want to watch me doing that? You know what I mean? And I do have to think about that, which I feel like I did a pretty good job objectively on most of my review videos. I do feel that I try to stay entertaining while still trying to make my points very clear. And then I also try to make sure my points have backing and aren't just like, this game sucks just because you guys think it doesn't, or vice versa. I always have to be like, here's why I think this game sucks, because blah, blah, blah. It's like with my Borderlands thing, you know, that got lukewarm reception, and because people think that my 6 out of 10 was a little too rough. And I like I said, I would have given maybe a 6.5 or a 7 after thinking of it, you know, taking the controversy of Gearbox away. But it's videos like that do make me reflect back and think. You know, we had the guy who commented on our Fable, or not, it wasn't a Fable episode, but the Fable segment of our last episode, and they were pretty upset. I would still say, because I feel like they might listen to this episode too, I will say that I stand by my point that you're very biased for Fable. And yes, I'm very biased against Fable. You're right. My bias was well and out there, but I also wasn't hiding my bias. I was pretty clear that I think Fable sucks. So, with that being said, I didn't answer your things, but I'm not going to get redundant. You can read the reply to your comment. But, again, I appreciate you just not screaming at me like, you're wrong! You tried to explain why I was wrong, even though that was wrong, but you tried to explain why I was wrong, and I appreciate that. You tried to be argumentative, so good on you. I do appreciate the feedback and the comments, you know, when I do get them. They're usually, God, you're an asshole, you hate everything. I don't hate everything, I just there's a lot of stuff you like that I hate. That's the main difference. But yeah, and other than that, if you want to check all that stuff out, it's always weird when I go first, but then like I try to do a rolling start. I don't know, I don't think we'll ever have the perfect formula, but if you want to check out all that stuff, you can find all those things. Well, you can find me at ZDRocker at all the places, and you can find all that other stuff at SlimAsianEntertainment.com, and probably where you heard about this because of how much I advertise it, DisconnectedCast.com. Mr. Josh, where can everybody find you on the internet?
Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram, at Yoshiro Joestar, YouTube, ShiroPlay5.
Johnny Boy?
Instagram _EvilDeadGuy.
All right, and Miss Mallory?
You can find me on Instagram, awesome_Mally.
Awesome. I was really scared you were just going to be like, you can find me on Instagram, and then that's it. I was going to say, just come find me. Come find me. It's a challenge.
It's a game.
You'll find it eventually.
Exactly. All right, Mr. John, you were absentee last time. Did you have any, obviously you did. That's why I put the note to ask you.
Did you bring your
thoughts
note?
On, do you have a doctor's note? Anyways, no. Thoughts on the Microsoft Showcase, anything that stood out to you and things you did you did want to comment on?
Let me see. I had notes set aside. Hold on.
Go ahead. While John does that. I'm not going to overplay the Deadly Prem meme. That was just for that episode. But, yeah.
Big fan of Halo. We'll see how that goes. Although with the recent one, I don't know how that... get out of here. What are you doing?
Awesome.
I don't know how I feel about it. What do they mean? What do you think they mean by that? Like, multiplayer would be free to play.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about that, so don't worry. I'll clarify that very, very clear. So we can just pass that just for now, because that is one of the things on the docket. So I'll address that.
Okay. I don't know. Fable looked cool. I've never played it before, so I thought maybe about getting into that, kind of tagging into what you said. What else? What was the name of that other one? I didn't write it down. It reminded me of Silent Hill, the one with that girl where she splits in two.
Wait, sorry. Which game did you say? Sorry, it cut out a bit.
It reminded me of Silent Hill.
No, what game?
Medium.
Medium. Yeah, I forgot about that one. I actually
that one looked really cool. Mm-hmm. Pretty excited. I'll play that one.
Cool.
And well, I guess that's it. Sorry, not too many notes.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Because again, I am going to follow up on one of your main concerns anyways, and we'll get to that. But yeah. Cool. So, one thing I found interesting, because I address it all the time, so it was interesting to see someone else do it. However, I will preface that I didn't actually read the article, because this website has no... Okay, some websites I go to, it's like, please turn off ad blocker, and I go, fuck you, and then I just click no, and it's like, alright, whatever, who gives a shit. This website, Forbes, doesn't let you do that. Unless you turn off ad blocker or whitelist them, it keeps popping it up infinitely. So I'm like, yeah, Forbes, fuck yourself. So I didn't read the actual article, but it was interesting because I haven't heard of any mainstream media talk about this, where they said, let's address the anti-Xbox bias. And they kind of relay, from what I could read through the sheen of white that was blocking the article, basically they talk about how time and time again, they address several points that I make, which is like, Xbox will do something that PlayStation will literally copy, but then PlayStation reaps all the rewards being 5 years late, and then Xbox gets the middle finger from the media.
It's almost like Apple.
And just stuff like that, exactly. And they also talk about, especially in the recent presentation, you just see so much more toxicity from the Sony shit-talking Xbox side than you... Not that you don't see any Xbox people shit-talking Sony people, but it's clearly a 7 to 1 ratio of like, wow, Sony kicked Microsoft's ass. Oh, wow, they wiped the floor with them, which I was talking to Josh about this earlier in the week. I don't get what people mean that Sony killed the presentation on the stuff that they showed, because there were no release dates, no real gameplay footage for most of them, and I didn't see like more than 3 things I found extra interesting. So I want to ask all these people, like, what do you mean by that? And that's been happening the past couple of E3s as well. People keep going, that E3 Sony showcase, holy fuck, and I'm like, yeah, it sucked. The Xbox one was boring too, but the Sony one wasn't much better, so it's like, why do you guys... It's the Sony fandom that's almost... It's, again, like you said, it's like Apple. Like, the iPhone next to the latest Samsung Galaxy can be pound for pound worse. Usually the only place it can even get toe-to-toe with is, like, the cameras. But other than that, specs-wise, can be toe-to-toe worse, but people will still always blindly, like, give me that Apple. I'm gonna get my new Apple every year.
Like the new iPhone will have a feature that Android has been able to do for years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man, did you see Apple's doing this?
It's like, yeah, I saw that super late. Yeah, one of the ones that I remember very vividly was wallpapers. Apple has only had wallpapers on iOS for like a few years now. I'd say maybe 5+ years now.
Yeah.
But I remember ever since my first shittiest Android, which I don't even remember what brand it was, could do custom wallpapers in like 2006 or whatever I got that. Like, Jesus, you know what I mean? Like, come on, guys. You guys just got this in the 2000s, or like in the later 2000s. Like, come on. But yeah. So anyways, kudos to Forbes, regardless of how the rest of the article that I couldn't read went. But awesome for addressing it, because I do think it's that elephant in the room that no one really bothers to address. Even Xbox just wipes it off with their billions of dollars and goes, whatever. You know what I mean? We're just going to do our thing. But still, I do like that someone finally said it that has, like, millions of readers. So, good on them. Will it make a difference? Probably not, because Sony fanboy's going to Sony fanboy. However, it is nice that someone at least said it. Someone had to say it, and they did. The developers behind Bulletstorm, People Can Fly, have announced that they are making a new game. That's about it. No other details otherwise. They did say that it is definitely going to be a big-budget AAA title. It's called Outriders. Sorry, excuse me. I knew someone was going to correct me on that. That's the one detail they gave. What is it? No one knows. But yeah, it isn't Outriders. Outriders is already being made. See, I fucked up my thing. See, I should have listened to my notes. Anyways, they're making a new AAA title. No other things, but they did say it is truly only next gen. So it's only going to be for PS5 and Xbox Series X. So not going to come out for this one, which means it's probably not going to come out for a while. That's usually what news like that means. But they announced it already. The Untitled game is going to be, they're made of different studios in different cities, so yeah, it's their New York studio that's going to be working on it. So yeah, that particular New York team is only working on PC, streaming, and next-gen consoles. So there'll be that. Splinter Cell, I actually griped to Josh about this the other day. I said, God damn, too bad that guy was a liar and that all his drunken news literally didn't mean anything, because no Splinter Cell game was announced at the next two big events that Ubisoft could have revealed it at. Well, they finally made an announcement. Splinter Cell is coming back as an anime. Not a cartoon, not an animation, not like a Netflix animation. It could be a Netflix. But as an actual Japanese studio anime. Now, I have mixed feelings about this. If it's really good quality, not some Animatrix bullshit, if it's actually like there's more than $500 put behind it, I could maybe get behind it if they get Michael Ironside to come back to voice Sam Fisher.
That'd be pretty dope.
However, I would rather play Michael Ironside voicing Sam Fisher. But if they would just tell me straight up, look, you're not getting a fucking game, at least eat up the show, I will just say, please make a good show then. So that's coming. I'm reserved in hype because, again, I'd rather have a game. But if this is supplemental, or if this is to gauge hype, let's see the litmus strip test. Do people give a fuck about Splinter Cell still because it's been like 10 years? We'll see. That's crazy to think. I just thought about it. I don't know if it's really been 10 years, but it's been a while. Like, it's been a long while since the last Splinter Cell game came out, so I just want another one. And then while Ubisoft was announcing that, they also announced that Beyond Good and Evil is also getting an anime adaptation as well. Now, that is going to be better than the new game, because Beyond Good and Evil 2 is garbojo. It's going to be dog shit, because Beyond Good and Evil 1 was amazing. Fun platformer adventure game. 2 is going to be that, except that none of the first game matters. It pretty much has nothing to do with Beyond Good and Evil 2. And they were just like, we just need money. And then they just announced it, and it was just really bad. So hopefully the anime for that will be good. The devs wanted to clarify that Fable will be an open world game, not what a lot of rumors were saying, that it was going to be an MMO experience instead of a open world RPG. It is going to be what it's always been, which is an open world RPG, except for the one bad Kinect game. And yeah, so there will be that. We'll see. I guess, rumors were indicating that. They just wanted to clarify, so there's that. Now, here's the answer to John's question. So, Halo Infinite, I almost called it Halo 6. Halo Infinite is going to come out as a regular game. You can just buy it, whatever. However, like in Call of Duty, if you just want to play Warzone, you don't have to buy Call of Duty. You can just download Warzone and play online. So Halo will unrestrict multiplayer. So there are some people who only give a fuck about Halo's multiplayer, and there's some people who only care about the story, and there's people who like both. But there's definitely more of a divide than a crossover, because everyone I know has always just done one or the other. Mostly, except for maybe John. Now, with that being the case, why would you do the multiplayer part for free? Because that's absolutely smart. Apex Legends, Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite. Look at the way everything else is going. Free-to-play makes way more money than selling it. In any of these games that charge you $60 and nothing else, they would not be these 10-cent giants that they actually are. So what Microsoft's gunning for is the multiplayer market. The multiplayer market, which is huge, remembers Halo but could give a fuck less about the story and just wants to shoot-bang each other. So with that being the case, I think it's an absolutely brilliant move to make some goddamn money. I feel like this is going to be the biggest selling Halo simply on probably the... Now, here's the thing. John, you mentioned that there were microtransactions in the original Halo, the rec packs and whatever in Halo 5, excuse me. Now, I don't know about rec packs because those things were garbage, but even if they were to do weapon and armor skins, at least if the multiplayer is a free game, it's malicious still, but unlike Overwatch, it's not like $60, by the way, give us more of that cash. It's just like, you didn't pay fucking anything for this, give us more of that cash. So at least when you're going that route, you didn't walk in with a bucket full of millions of dollars, you walked in with an empty bucket and you're just like, hey, if you want to, throw them in. Because although, I agree with Jim that optional doesn't always mean optional because people have gambling addictions or otherwise, from a business point of view, now you can do microtransactions and it's not as scummy. The other interesting thing that they announced is that the multiplayer on the Series X, and I believe whatever the up tier one is now, the Xbox One X or whatever the fuck they called it. Yeah, that's how bad their fucking consoles are named. Mm-hmm. The current high tier one of the current generation is the Xbox One X. Those two versions will run at 120 frames fluid, but still 120 frames. Typically not dipping below 90, which is insane, because that is where we need to be this generation, because Sony hasn't even announced 160 frame per second game, so I'm still waiting, Sony. Give us, at least this one is an actual declaration of good frame rate, and if that's what we're going to see next gen, and we're talking fuck 60, we're going up to 120 already, I'm very curious about that. Now, some people will say, oh, but above a certain part doesn't matter, because the human eye can only, guess what? If it's only dipping to 90 and you still can't decipher 60 and 90, that means it looks like a locked 60, basically, to your eyes. So there is no such thing as too high of a frame rate, basically, is the point. Because all you will do is dip, and you won't go below 60. It's not like Horizon Zero Dawn, where I had like a 17 FPS frame drop at one point when I was walking around in the grass. That won't be happening if they were targeting 120. So, it's going to be good. It should look very nice, especially running that smooth. But that's how they're going to do the multiplayer. It is going to be a free-to-play game because it's theoretically going to be part of the game, but not really. You can get it as a separate download or it's part of the on-disc package. So that's to clarify that. It's going to be like anything else, but now you can get it a la carte. So there's that. They announced that they're going to be adding crossplay and custom game browser to Master Chief Collection. So, that's a collection that came out busted as fuck, but has since been... treated very well. It took a lot of fixing, but because Master Chief Collection was garbage at the very beginning. But they've added several games, and then they've added much performance enhancements, and now they're adding new modes. So, with that being the case, should be. I think they're handling it very well. Better late than never at that point. They also announced that in the Master Chief Collection version of Halo 3, 13 years after its original launch, Halo 3 is actually getting new stuff, which is going to include new guns and weapon skins. And other stuff, including weapons from ODST for the first time ever in Halo 3, the Master Chief Collection version. The title of that article is very clickbaity because they're trying to act like they're going to update the original Halo 3, which is not always far-fetched because when Borderlands 3 came out, they updated Borderlands 2 with new content shortly before 3 came out, and so that's like updating a game that's like 10 years old, basically. So, not always impossible, but... to be clear, that update is only coming to the Master Chief Collection version. So, there's that. John mentioned getting Game Pass again. Great service. I think that is one thing that a lot of people need to talk more about. I want to say it was on Jimquisition one time where they were asked like why they never bring up Game Pass as like a positive gaming news thing, since they're always kind of talking about gaming news. I forgot what the answer was though. I think it was just like doesn't really have anything to do with their scope of what they usually cover, so that's why there's just no point in that. But anyways, Xbox is actually renaming it. It's really weird because in the logo, you still see the Xbox logo and Game Pass, but apparently now it's just called Game Pass. Because since it's on PC and Xbox, and now it's going to be on mobile as well, they don't really want it to just be like, Xbox, PC, and mobile Game Pass is all the same, so it's no longer Xbox Game Pass, it's just Game Pass, because that's what it is. There's no point. You're not playing Xbox Game Pass on your PC or Xbox Game Pass on your phone, because that would make no sense. So they're just like, we'll just unify all of the branding instead of naming it 3 different things. So there's just
What about Xbox being a platform?
Well, they never actually said that. That's just our assumption. So I don't know. This could be moving against that because they've never said anything in that regard. So yeah, that could just be them moving away from that, or again, embracing it in the sense that if it is all one platform, then there's no point in calling it Xbox. It's just, Microsoft's thing. So yeah, there's that. Of course, with Battletoads finally coming out on August 20th, that is actually going to be part of Game Pass as well. So if you have that, you can already play the brand new Battletoads game at launch. How many games launch on there is actually really nice, to the point where games almost have to announce now when they're not launching on Game Pass because of how many do. Outer World, Outer Wild, stuff like that. So it's just one of the best values in gaming right now, especially if you aren't the type of person like me who buys every AAA game that just comes out, whatever the fuck. If you're a little more frugal, or if you just don't have the cash to burn on that, Game Pass is the way to play all these games, because if you just beat it in a month, you've already played all of Outer Wilds for $15, and that's way less than MSRP. So there's that. BioWare, still trying for some reason, announced the goal of the Anthem overhaul that's eventually going to come, probably never. They talked about how, since players wanted them to fix the equipment and loot more than anything, that's what they're going to do. Now, the problem is, they detail all of this in very, very heavy, like a long list of like, percentage of this and that, and this. But here's the problem. When you're playing a loot-based shooter and you're trying to fix it as the developer, you can put any words on a piece of paper, but the only way to actually prove that to the players is to just go ahead and do it. I think an update like this was unnecessary. I think that you should have said something, just be like, yeah, we're still working on it, fuck off. But I just think that listing those kind of what you want to fix, admitting A, it hasn't been fixed, and then B, there's no promise it can be fixed, is just unnecessary. I can list all sorts of stuff. Oh yeah, the next Yakuza game is going to have a guy with black hair and a girl and an Asian guy, and and you can just list all these things, but there's no point. Anthem should probably just give up. I feel like Ubisoft is wasting... Wait, is it BioWare Ubisoft? Yeah. Ubisoft, right? No, BioWare EA. EA is just wasting so much money trying to fix this game that admittedly not even that many people play. It's amazing anyone plays it, but their Twitch stream base is down to sub 1,000. There is no community for that game anymore. And because of that, I just don't see the point in it. And I don't know. I feel like they think they're going to have a No Man's Sky on their hands. They're like, oh, we just botched it at the beginning, but we're going to save the game and make, tons of money in post. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I read an interesting article. So I've been thinking about going back to Animal Crossing, as they seem to have added some cool stuff. But anyone who's played Animal Crossing in the past, obvious concerns with coming back to a fucked up town. Apparently, New Horizons is very, very, a lot more forgiving in that way. Not really much weeds. You can get rid of, there's 10 weeds that maybe appear at most. Your villagers won't leave just because you haven't been playing for months. Just a bunch of almost sadly forgiving, just because that was the whole point of Animal Crossing before, was when you're going to put this down, you're probably putting it down forever.
Yeah.
Now, I know why they did that. They did that because they're going to update this one, which has never happened in an Animal Crossing game ever. There have been no over-the-air updates for any Animal Crossing in the past. And because of that, they don't want to scare away anybody. They want people like me to be like, you didn't play for 6 months, but you can come back with not too much of a penalty. So if that is the case, now I'm gonna actually like DDoS that article writer if they fucking are lying and I get back to my town and it's fucked. However, if I do log on and it's all fine, I may actually start playing Animal Crossing again. Get tired of it after a few weeks like I did the first time. I don't know. I'm just not a dailies guy. This is why Animal Crossing only lasted me for a little bit. This is why I didn't play Destiny for that long. The idea of chore listing, I gotta get on to do the chore, just makes me not want to play the game. But I'm glad that some people are still enjoying it. A lot of people on my friends list are still playing it. And I am happy with the stuff they've been adding, because it does seem like actual upgrades, like diving and shit like that. Like, that's actual. It's not just added 2 more kinds of butterflies. That would be like, who gives a shit? Like, no one actually cares about collecting bugs or anything in that game. So yeah. I mean, unless you're getting a model made out of it. But other than that, who gives a shit? Samurai Showdown and Tekken 7 both announced to get new seasons. So more money, but more stuff. So we're going to see what characters are going to be appearing in those season passes and what other content is going to be coming there. But Sam Show and Tekken 7, both very good fighting games, so more content's always nice. We'll see how long
Tekken
it's supported.
7 can fix Season 3.
Oh, yeah. That's not great. Was that Leroy? Or
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yep, hopefully.
And then Soul Calibur 6 is going to be getting a balance patch, and they will be releasing Setsuka. I think that's going to be the 3rd character with their Season 2 DLC. And Strive, Guilty Gear Strive announced that they're bringing back Leo, and then they showed a character trailer for the fucking woolly character.
Yeah.
I already forgot his name.
Strive hasn't even come out yet, right?
No.
They're still announcing what's going to be in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still really hoping they fix that UI. I'm not
It's funny how that's like just the one universal gripe. Everyone else, everything else seems
no,
fine.
the game looks beautiful, but that UI just does not look great.
Apparently in Wooly's interview with Ishiwatari, Ishiwatari does try to explain there's a functional point to it, but even Wooly was like, he talked about it on the podcast after, he was just like, yeah, I really respect Ishiwatari and I get what he's saying, but change it. It's just bad. Like, no matter what the reasoning is behind it. I forgot what the actual functioning reason is. There's a whole point to like gauging some, or like keeping track of some shit, but he's just like, no. But yeah. So yeah, the fighting game's getting some stuffs. I know one of the people coming to Showdown is the Warden from
For Honor?
Yep. So that's an interesting crossover. Diablo Immortal has a new trailer. Who gives a fuck? It's at some Chinese event no one gives a shit about, because Diablo Immortal is trash mobile game. That's not going to be good. Steam recently added an update that prevents users from purchasing games through VPNs, which I will say it does make sense, because what's happening is they're going on the Venezuela VPN and buying the game there, and what that does is now the Steam charge for Venezuelans goes up 400%, and no one in the country can afford the game anymore. So because of that, Steam is blocking would-be cheapskates from the West to fucking up everyone else's lives in other countries. So in order to keep a fair and balanced economy from both sides, Steam users can now only buy, if you're in the US region, you can only buy from there, so on and so forth, to prevent price jumping in other countries fucking up everyone's lives. Because now now to buy fucking GTA in fucking Brazil, you're having to spend like $200 on it because the US people went there and bought all the copy, bought 1 million copies, and they saw that it was through a VPN, and now they have to up the price to try to counteract that nonsense. So I will say that that's one of the times where I'm like, countering a VPN, I at least get the idea from there. So, yep. Of course, people were also using it. Now, I don't feel this is as offensive. People were using it to get the game like 3 hours early. I don't really care about that. Because I know Pat would go on like the Australian PSN store and start playing the game in the middle of the afternoon instead of waiting until midnight. That I don't think is that big of a deal. Who cares? Like, especially at that point, review copies have been out and people in Japan have been playing it for fucking forever. So it doesn't really matter. But I do think that the price gouging or the price imbalance thing is a fair deal. I think that's fine. So yeah, interesting to see that. We'll see. I know there's been a lot of backlash because of people being like, my VPN though, I can use it. You can use it, just not to buy Steam games. But yeah. Sekiro getting a Game of the Year edition for Japan. No other regions have been announced to have it yet. So we'll see. Microsoft confirming it wants to buy the black people hating company TikTok. to see where they can go from there. So if you hate black people, you too can enjoy TikTok with Microsoft if they end up buying it. Let's see. Oh, right. Ice-T wants what everyone else literally wants, which is a new Def Jam game for next gen. Now, here's the thing I always tell people. I love Def Jam, and a lot of people I know are like, I want another Def Jam game. If it's good. See, the problem is we see franchises like this get revived all the time, and they just become straight shit.
Yeah,
I remember
the first two were really good.
Yeah, there was that long period of time with WWE games. It's just like, SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 and 2008 was great, and then all of a sudden it just jumped to, oh my, what is this game anymore? And it's just been trash ever since. So, if it will be depending on the developer, because the original developers are long dead. Nobody works at that company anymore because it doesn't exist. But if a good company, maybe Way Forward or someone can pick it up, I'm down for that. We'll see. Ice-T, of course, also said at the beginning of COVID-19 that this is the best time to collect your debts because there's a very high chance that the person's going to be at home. So if anyone owes you money, do it now. EA, right. So EA announced that Star Wars Squadrons is going to be only $40 at launch. The worrisome thing is that they said that they feel it's about $40 of content. So that's why they're charging it accordingly. Now, people would tell me, oh, $40? They're charging... This is EA's idea of $40.
And
EA, who has released games with nothing in it and charged $60, now feels like this is a $40 game. My hype starts to rescind a bit for Squadrons, but we'll see. Now, if the reasoning is this lack of content, like maybe no campaign, and it's just all multiplayer, but it's done well,
right.
You know what? You got the right idea, EA. $40 because it's just multiplayer. Titanfall, you should have paid attention. They did add a campaign in Titanfall 2, which is good. But, point being is, the price could have maybe reflected on the first game. So, we'll see. I just feel that EA saying that so early and being like, yeah, it's a price adjustment to address the lack of content. I'm just like, don't say it like that. And they didn't say lack of content, but I mean, it's much lower than most big budget games because the game doesn't have the same breadth of content as other expensive games.
Right.
Still the same thing, lack of content. What that lack of content is, again, if it's just a campaign and it's just a multiplayer game that's great, I'd play that game with you guys for $40. So it's one of those things where it's just like, we'll see how they actually handle it. Fortnite reveals their little Coral Castle Atlantis. Does anyone that listens to the podcast even play Fortnite? I have to say it because it's gaming news, but I just feel like nobody cares whenever I bring that up, so that's why I don't get into it too much. Sony says their new Bravia line TVs are ready for PS5. Go fucking figure. The company who makes the consoles making TVs that can handle it. Wow. Surprise. And then finally, I don't really have much of an end topic tonight, but one thing I did find interesting was the person that built, because Death Stranding just recently came out on PC and is apparently the best way to play it, if you have a rig that can handle it, because it's gorgeous. The fidelity is like way beyond. And one thing that Pat pointed out is that when you start the settings and you're choosing your graphical settings, the medium default is the PlayStation 4 graphics. The high, very high, and ultra just shows you how much better, where it looks great on PS4, but when you play it on, on Ultramax, it's like, holy shit, this game looks completely different because it looks amazing, assuming you have a 4K monitor and the rig to handle it running at that, which I know my computer would just explode at that point. But yeah, good to know that it's doing well on there. There was definitely the concern of it being a bad port because lots of PC ports are also bad.
Right.
But it ended up being what a lot of critics consider the definitive way to play the game if you have the rig. And because of that, someone decided, maybe I don't have the rig, so I'm going to make it. And the person made a Death Stranding themed PC, which is basically based on Sam... I keep wanting to say Sam Fisher, but I know that's not his name. Sam, Walking Deadman from Death Stranding, the baby that he carries, they made a PC rig that looks like the thing that he carries it in, and the baby itself is actually to scale. So, yeah.
It's only slightly creepy.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy, yeah. Apparently, they also mentioned that they did take a lot of precautions to make sure that the baby doesn't just melt and kill them when they go die in a fire because their PC exploded. Apparently, there's a lot of precaution, lots of cooling, lots of anti-inflammatory measures that were taken to make sure that the baby doesn't seize up and die and kill everyone in there. So, very cool. I gotta say, I used to like. I'm thinking about buying my next rig pre-built. I normally never do pre-built. I always do piece together my own. I buy the motherboard, buy the fucking graphics card. That was cool when I was little, but I feel it's very, even though it's definitely enthusiast, it's very unnecessary now because you can buy a prefab rig for a little bit more of a premium, but I would probably say that the $200 to $300 that those prefab places charge you is still worth it to just get it ready to go out of the box, as opposed to having to buy one piece each from Newegg and slap it together. Because motherboard testing, what RAM is good with it, what hard drive's good with it, is a pain in the ass. I did that with my rig before. Thankfully, everything worked out, but I just had to do a lot of reading to make sure I don't buy something unnecessary. Yeah. So I may just buy a prefab rig. However, what I will say is, it's one thing to build a PC. That's already a lot of work. But to build one like that user did, Cammy Roebuck, damn. Great work. He or she, I don't know actually, because it didn't really specify if it was who it was. But that's their username, Cammy Roebuck. Big Death Stranding fan, big time. So good stuff. I don't know. That's pretty much it. I know I just talked the whole time. If anyone had anything to interject during any of that, I mean, if you want to talk about Death Stranding or Squadron and your hopes of that, if the $40 thing kind of wavers your hopes or not, or Sekiro or anything. Anyone? Everyone good? Anyone?
The Sekiro DLC should hopefully be fun. I haven't played in so long, and I need to start over.
Because I was gonna say because your save file's ripped,
I lost my data. Yeah.
Were you pretty far in it?
I want to say probably halfway. Maybe.
Okay, so that's still a sucky point to have to restart.
Probably, yeah. Squadrons, I mean, the little trailer looked neat, but I'm wary.
Because
I'm very wary. Well, it looked really good because I just want another Rogue Squadron.
Was that the game where they said like there was going to be no DLC or whatever? Wasn't that like one of the things they were bragging about? For some reason, that comes to mind. I'll research it.
Or no loot boxes or something
some
like that.
Some shit like that, yeah.
Yeah, but it makes it seem like there's 2 stories or something that you can do. But I don't know. Maybe it's just not going to have as many modes or some bullshit. I don't know.
Some sort of limitation.
Yeah, that it's like I'm hopeful, but I'm wary. I'm very wary. Death Stranding, I've still never played it. No. So
that is a game that's definitely not for everyone because it's a really long game where you're just building bridges and listening to Kojima's nonsense being spewed out of the narrative. But I loved it because I love weird games. Mal, John, anything? Any of those games you wanted to bring up? Halo, I kind of just steamrolled through that. Anything, John?
No, nothing real to add. Just
Did that clarify? Did you have any more questions? Because I know you were kind of confused about what they mean by le free to play.
No, that was good. You're right. That's actually really smart.
Yep. Because and then think about it, right? In conjunction to that, so not just is their multiplayer game going to blow through the roof because now anyone can get it that has an Xbox and probably PC as well. But then how many people are going to be like, this Halo shit kind of dope. I kind of want to check out. I kind of want to pick up Master Chief Collection on PC or otherwise. Or now that I have an Xbox, I can be fucked with Game Pass to try the Master Chief Collection. It's just smart, I think. I think Halo may actually just fucking come back to its like former glory that it's kind of just not been in the mainstream for a while. So hopefully this will be Halo's time to shine, if any. So smart financial and PR move. Mallory, any games or anything that you were interested in on that? The Splinter Cell anime or Halo maybe or Xbox?
I mean, I have Game Pass and I'm interested in Halo. I just want to see like what it looks like when it comes out. Mm-hmm. And then as far as anything else, not really. I have to set back up my Xbox, so I haven't really gotten to play on it much. We're actually doing that this week before I leave. But I'm thinking about getting a new Switch game, so I'll need to talk to you off of this to see which Switch games have recently come out that I want to play, because I haven't really looked into it yet.
For sure, no, definitely hit me up. If there's someone with like 300 games in their library now, definitely ask me about Switch games. I got them, and I can give you advice on what I think you might like. If there's titles you already have in queue, and you could just be like, this one, or this one, I can kind of give advice on that too, or you could try to tell me what you're in the mood for, and I'll find something for you for sure.
Okay.
Alrighty, everybody. That's right. If you have any Switch questions, games, suggestions on what you should buy, make sure to email us at disconnectedcastmail@gmail.com or hit me up at ZDRocker at any of the places. Other than that, we will catch you guys every Monday, because this time was on a Monday, at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And until the next episode, we will catch you guys then. Until then, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Refreshing.